Hey everybody, thanks for joining us at Sunnyside again. It's Trevor's back for another class. Today is new for 22, one of my faves. We get to kind of talk about some of the new stuff coming in here this season. Say hi to Nicole, she's back there running the chat. Mr. Smith is taking the day off, so he doesn't have any new for 22 here today. So we'll talk about a lot of new stuff. It's going to be fast and furious. There's a big handout, and I will apologize. It's been a busy few weeks. It takes a long time to compile an 8-page handout on all the new stuff that we're planning on having this season. So it is ready. It is on the internet. I'm sure people are going to start chatting with Nicole. How can I get it? How can I get it? She'll send you a link real quick, or you can jump on our website and certainly print it. That'll give you kind of a hard copy you can look through and see all the new little treasures. There's some basic information on there. So, before I start the slideshow, I'll just say, yes, I'm the general manager here, but my first job, back 30 years ago was a nursery buyer, running trees and shrubs and done perennials, a little bit of everything all these years. But it's one of the favorite parts of my job. I love looking for new things that we can offer to our customers, our local clients here. There's always the latest, greatest coming out, a new variety of this, a new flavor of that. I enjoy talking to our team, here at the nursery. A lot of times we'll make decisions in the summer and the fall for the next coming season. So I'll kind of run around and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? What do we think about this? We've got some good gardeners here, and usually they're like, yeah, if you get that one, I'll buy one from my yard. And that's usually a good sign that, yeah, we should probably carry that for our customers as well. So, it is a great way for us to kind of feed our plant addictions and plant too many things in our own yards as we get these new things in here. So I'm going to start running a slideshow. We're going to go through quite a bit. Again, this is recorded. It's going to be fast and furious. So if you want to go back and check some pictures, make some notes on the handout, you're more than welcome to. I got a lot of the new plants on the slideshow, but not all of them. There's more things on that list that are on the slides here. And I tried to keep it in order. So if you have the list printed, you follow it down, it'll kind of make sense with the slides as well. Okay. So give me 1 second. Oh, we're starting way down here. My apologies. All right, so there we go. That has a nice ring to it. New for 22. Might have to figure out. Doesn't quite sound the same. New for 23. We'll have to come up with something new for next year. But this is the class today. I kind of put a couple notes on here for the first time. New plants, cultivars, varieties. I like the word flavors. You'll probably hear me use all three of them in here. Why can't plants be flavors too, is what I always say. They keep on coming to us from breeders, from growers all over the place. I mean, not just in Washington and Oregon, but literally across the entire country, sometimes all the way from Europe, to be honest. It's kind of funny to me because folks that are really interested on how things come to the market, will ask, where did that come from? Or how did we get that here? Some are planned, think of the rose grower, plenty of people that are sitting and playing with pollen and genetics and kind of making something they're looking for. A lot of stuff happens by accident. Some of the coolest plants I think that have come out over the years were just found at a nursery or found lost in a garden or found in an arboretum that somebody had forgotten about. And a lot of times if I'm a grower, I'm growing 1,000 of a shrub, and I may walk out one year and say, what's going on with that one? That's got a different color leaf, a variegation, whatever it is. We pull it aside, and as long as we've got a stable clone that we can propagate and make some new ones, boom, you got a new variety. So sometimes it's planned, and it kind of makes me chuckle. Sometimes a little more of an accident as well. We consider a whole bunch of them here at the nursery. For us, it's hard. I wish we could carry every single flavor of every single plant because there's some great ones around. It's just not physically possible. I don't know how many acres you'd have all of something around, but it's a lot. So a lot of times it's an evaluation. Is it going to replace something we carry? Is it better than something that we have that's similar? And obviously would our customers enjoy it, having it in their own gardens? Just an FYI, it kind of drives me crazy. It's already started over the winter, but a lot of people internet looking, which is great. A lot of people read great gardening magazines. They are notorious for telling you something is new and you should run right down to your local nursery to grab it when it's really not available yet. So A lot of the stuff we're going to cover today is not here on the property. There's a few things here yet, but these things continue to trickle in all through the gardening season. I'll try to mention, you know, when I know some things that are in or that we have it, or if I know when they're going to come. But again, the vast majority of this is going to continue to trickle in over the coming season. You know, for us at the grower level, I can tell you if we were doing this, you know, as I'm a propagator or a grower, we would be striving for some characteristic. You know, why is my variety, you know, better than something we already have? You know, the number one list for everybody's flower power. If you talk to any person, the more flower count, the longer it blooms. If it repeat flowers, you know, on and on, new color. That is number one always for retail. Everybody loves flowers. Eye candy, you know, you come down here and shop and you see some nice plants in bloom. It's going to attract you more to put it in your yard. You know, foliage is a big one. Different color, different size, different shape. You know, again, we would have a new cultivar. A lot of growers looking for that. You know, variegation, if you know what I mean. You know, when I've got a green leaf and it's got streaking or edge color on it, whites, yellows, different tones, you know, that's a very desirable trait for a lot of homeowners. For me in my own garden, I love foliage color. A big one for me is growth habit. Is it more compact? Is it tidier? Is it columnar? Is it, you know, is it give me something, again, a little different to offer to our customers that won't overpower their gardens? Insect and disease resistance is always big. You know, the growers are trying to find things that are more mildew resistant. You know, the rose is an easy thing. They'll call all of them disease resistant, but they're rarely introduce a new rose that hasn't been tried and tested that will make sure it stays as clean as possible without spraying. You know, what does this mean to you guys? You know, more satisfaction to me with the plant you take home, and perhaps a little less maintenance, you know, for you, the gardener, you know, something you won't have to spend as much time maybe fussing with quite as much in the yard. You can plant it, do some minimal maintenance, and be able to just enjoy it and walk away, okay? So if we kind of start whipping through here, when you get the handout, if you got it, again, I apologize, or if you've got it printed, but there's some new stores in the products in our store I thought would be worth bringing up. You know, these two right here would be natural herbicides. They are not brand new to the market, but they have been relabeled. Bonide's a great family company back east that we get a lot of our pharmacy or garden solution products from. And these are things that I use in my own yard. They had other names before, you can read the list, but now they've kind of blanketed all their natural products underneath the Captain Jack's label, which is kind of fun. You can see his little hat and face there in the corner of the bottles. So Captain Jack's Deadweed Brew is a great non-selective herbicide, all natural acids and oils in there that will burn weeds in the garden and gravel and driveways, grasses and weeds. Yes, if I get that on my peony or my ground cover, it will damage that as well. So be real careful where you spray it. Lawn weed brew is the same thing for a lawn. I want to have something natural that I can spray and kill lawn weeds with. It's previously known as Weed Beater FE, which is a terrible name. Now I think people will recognize the brand a little more with the new label on it. Neem oil's been huge, you know, for our customers. It's one of our best-selling products, which makes us happy because it is natural and organic. There's a lot of ways to acquire neem. This new Neem Max, I think, is going to set the new standard for neem oil. It's 70% concentration, so you get a little more bang for your buck. And it's cold pressed, which frankly doesn't mean anything to any of us except for it's processed with zero chemicals whatsoever. So this is probably the first real neem oil that we could really call 100% organic. The neem oil always is organic as the end product for you, but the process, they've gotten rid of a lot of the byproducts that maybe weren't so good. So neem oil Max will kind of be, we have it in stock already, one of those things that we'll be adding to our inventory. And I was pretty psyched about this Espoma land and sea compost. We had a lot of people that transplant to our fine state and fine area from other parts of the country. And this was only a product that was available from Espoma Organics on the East Coast. Now we're able to have access to it here on the West Coast. So as soon as that happened last fall, we ordered up some pallets of it, and this is something we'll plan on carrying. It's a really useful, all organic, kind of half forest humus compost and half crabs and lobster shell, kind of the land and the sea. It's a great addition for all gardening use, but I think specifically when we get to veggie time here, that would be an excellent amendment to add into your soil. If we do a couple edibles real quick, you know, Jenny is a new fuzzy kiwi that's self-fertile. Kiwi, we've always had to have male and female, let them kind of do their thing across the flowers, and then we get our kiwi fruit. Jenny's kind of a new one that is just going to need one plant. This has got male and female on the same plant. So I train that up on a trellis in good sun. I'm going to have excellent kiwi production without having to worry about, is it a he and is it a she, and how do we get our fruit? We get a lot of new raspberries in, and you can tell if you're around here, the local name, the Cascade, our mountains here just across the county. Cascade series raspberries are excellent. We've got quite a few in now. Cascade Premier is kind of setting a new standard for commercial growers, which means it should be a really good one for you as a homeowner too. Big berries, easy to pick, really consistent crop. If you're looking at adding some raspberries in, I'd encourage you to check out one like Cascade Premier. We've got those ready to go. We have the Jenny Kiwi in too. We have all the blueberries in stock. So these next few, we brought up at the berry class, but certainly worth mentioning here. A lot of these we had a little bit in the fall, which a lot of times is how we acquire new stuff. We get a little sampling in the fall, we try them out. If it's a go, the staff loves it, our customers are giving us good feedback, then we start amping up the numbers and carry a little more that next spring. So we've got a lot of blueberry buckle around. A Silver Dollar, our two new little smaller blueberries out of the bushel and berry program. You can see great for container use, excellent quality berries, but these are going to be for foliage. Really nice colorful leaves, much more compact habit, and very easy to clip and shear, whether we do these in the pots or on the ground. I'm thinking about making blueberry buckle into a little boxwood-like hedge in my house. I might add a little hedge in my new garden that I can go out and prune while I'm eating some berries as well. Silver Dollar has got really nice foliage color. They named that kind of Silver Dollar after eucalyptus trees. Your spring foliage is going to resemble kind of that silvery color with the blue like eucalyptus would have. Then a couple of trailing ones, Midnight Cascade and Sapphire Cascade. You can see in the hanging basket where I want something low that spreads a little bit. That would be a great little low blueberry. They've got delicious berries, a little bit smaller, but great flavor. Usually the smaller berries have a little more flavor to me. So both those would be great options to try for the garden. We've got both those in as well. Okay, some new maples. We'll do the Japanese maple class here in a few weeks, so I'll just mention a couple that I was pretty psyched. We don't have a lot of these. There's a couple of these in right now. We'll have to do the first come, first serve because there's not many. These are new for the season. Gold Digger is a new one that's going to give me kind of that yellow coral bark, and you can see the real pretty spring foliage. Very nice fall color as well. That's one we want to give a little bit of afternoon shade to if you can. It's not a huge grower, but certainly if you like the winter interest of the bark, would be a great one to consider. I like the strawberry string. We've got a strawberry spring. We got a few of those in. That's a new reticulated maple. So I tried to find a picture with, you can see the colors on that leaf. Very, very pink in spring. If you like pink, this is probably a maple for you. So pink in spring. It'll fade out to green with white variegation over the summer. Then we'll turn back to our oranges for fall. That's another one I would give afternoon shade. It's not a huge grower, but one we can grow in a little shady container or in a little shady garden without the afternoon sun. A couple larger trees. Paperbark Maple is always one of my favorites. Excellent fall color. Beautiful peely kind of cinnamon mahogany bark. A lot of new varieties of paperbark continue to come out where they get a more uniform growth habit. So Fireburst, we got a couple of these in now. That's a newer paperbark. Again, it's going to keep a very concentric upright shape and not kind of get out of control. A full grown one of those, you might be up in that 20, 25 foot tall range and maybe only 15 feet wide. So instead of being a bigger rounded spreaded tree, I've got a different growth habit again. One of those things we're looking for. Ruby Sunset Maple, one of the hybrid maples. So the Schmidt Trees is a great tree producer down in Oregon. They're always bringing out to me the best shade trees, a lot of good flowering trees. This is one where they take red maple, Acer rubrum, and cross it with Acer truncatum and get these new hybrids out. So we're very cold hardy. This is something we could grow anywhere in the country virtually for cold hardiness, but great fall color like the red maples and a little smaller stature like the truncatum. So for a red fall color shade tree, this is about as small as it gets. You know, this is a little guy that's going to get about 25 feet tall, 20 wide, and again, keep a great shape for the yard. Some flowering trees, you know, Redbutt is a tree. We would see pink flowers on bare wood when these bloom here in the next month or so. The flamethrowers got the foliage. That's why I put a picture on there of the leaves, because that one I'm going to get everything from lime green to yellow to orange to red. As the leaves come out in spring and progress into the summer, I'm going to see a really cool foliage tree after the flowering's done. So again, adding another season of interest to me. You know, be careful with redbud up here in our little neck of the woods. Make sure you've got decent drainage. This is not one we want to put in a wet spot or heavy clay. We want to make sure the soil drains. You know, dogwood's always a really easy one in our climate, and snow tower is no different. We finally have a few of these to sell this year. This is basically a columnar Korean dogwood. So if I want really heavy flowering on a tree that doesn't spread out, and I like to keep it a little bit narrow and upright, maybe I don't have as much room for spread, that would be a great choice for you on something that's going to be much smaller scale for a really good quality dogwood. Korean dogwoods always bloom a little later, June, July, which is nice, great fall color, and they're much more disease resistant than American or our Pacific Northwest native ones. Tupelo is a real fun tree. I just like saying that word, Tupelo. It kind of sounds fun. But that's a foliage tree. So this is not bloom. This is not about seeds or fruits or anything. But I'm just looking for a really nice foliage tree. Gumdrop, you can see really nice and thick, uniform habit. That's one might reach 20 or 25 feet as it gets old. But spectacular spring color, clean foliage, and really nice fall color. This is one you don't get much pests and disease with. The reason I'm carrying more Tupelos or Nissa these days is they'll take heavier soil. This is a much safer bet for some folks that maybe don't have the perfect drainage, maybe have a little bit of clay in their yard. This is a tree that would still do very well without having to dig a crater and amend it quite as much. Lots of great magnolias coming out these days. Genie is a new one. We already sold out of this. I'm trying to find some more, so that would be one to get on our wish list for. This is a smaller grower. There's some really nice new small ones like Genie. You'll see Burgundy Star on the list. You know, where I don't have, again, a 20, 25, 30-foot tree. These are creatures that are going to stay 12 or maybe 15 feet, and again, much narrower, just 6, maybe 8 feet wide. So a really nice sized garden tree, I think, for the modern yard. Not gonna get too crazy. Now, if we look at some shrubs, you know, there's lots of new shrubs out every year, and I'll warn you, we're gonna get to hydrangeas here in a minute, and that's getting to the point where I don't know how many hydrangeas we can carry, but you always find a few more every year. But there are some great new shrubs again for 2020, 2022 for the garden. You know, I've always loved butterfly bush. You know, we love our pollinators. We like the nectar source. They're great for bees and butterflies and all the creatures we like. And these bloom a long time. The buzz series isn't new per se. We've been trickling these in the last couple of years, but there's always new collators or cultivars out every single season. We're going to have a pretty good slew of these in here in about a month. Smaller growers, 3-4 feet tall is all. You can almost treat them like a perennial and just chop them off, you know, late winter, let them start over again. They bloom on fresh wood. But this is something, if I deadhead a little bit, I'm going to get fragrant flower spikes in a lot of different color options all the way through the summer into the fall. So I think a great little small shrub for the sun, in good drainage, that you could add to the perennial garden to keep those pollinators happy. So you can see by the shrub picture there, very nice and tidy and a lot of flower power, and just a couple of examples of some of the colors that we'll have in there on the right. You know, Lyla smoke tree is one we just started getting in last year. It's been out for a few years, but I don't think a lot of people have discovered it yet, so I included it in this show. You know, a lot of people like the color, that deep black purple foliage of the smoke tree, a little puffy, kind of smoke-like blooms in the summer, an excellent fall color. But usually we kind of joked and said, is it a smoke tree or is it a smoke bush? Because if I didn't prune my smoke bush, it would very quickly turn into a smoke tree. So if you don't want something huge or have to fight the pruning or get something large again, Lila's the one for you. This is one that's just only going to get about 6 feet by 6 feet and not, I've seen smoke trees up 15 feet plus before. So much smaller with that same great foliage color. And whether it's spring, summer, or fall, these always look great during the season. Now, paper bush, we didn't have any this year. And if anybody's on who had their name on the wish list, I apologize over the internet. We've tried to let everybody know we just got both our crops canceled from growers. This is a fall plant. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you want one of these, get your name in, it's fine, but this is not going to be around until the fall. That's the soonest we're going to be able to get this one. Paper bush is a plant from China that blooms in late winter. So these little flower clusters come down. They're super fragrant. They bloom when there's no leaves on. They're really pretty for a large shrub if we want that winter color and winter fragrance. So these will get big. This is one we want to put in that morning sun or shade garden as a big specimen shrub, but something that I'm going to get pretty large. If you don't prune your Edgeworthia back, the paper bush, I might have a 10 or 12 foot plant down the road. So a little light pruning every year after bloom will get you a nice 6-8 feet by 6-8 feet specimen shrub, because they are spectacular when they flower. Now the hydrangeas that I mentioned, I put a few in here. When you get your list, there's probably too many new ones again. We're getting to the point where we're going to have to stop carrying a few because there's so many cool new ones as well. So this is probably the #1 thing on the internet, magazines. Everybody's got a new hydrangea flavor they want you to buy. So look at your options. There is a lot of them. Some of the old ones are just as good as some of the new ones as well. So I put a few on here. Akadama is a new one for shade or morning sun. This is a big leaf or macrophylla hydrangea, but you can see really nice flower. I'll be blue or purple in our soil. I can turn it to red if I want to play with my soil pH. I think this one's bonus is that foliage color. It's going to have really nice burgundy color in spring and in fall when the weather's cool. In summer, mostly green with just a hint of that on the new growth. But that's a big flower, compact plant. You'll probably hear me say those two things 8 times in a row here, because that's pretty much all the new hydrangeas are going for huge flowers and a nice tidy plant that you can prune that will repeat flower throughout the summer and fall. Elizabeth Ashley, no different with that one. Again, very tight, compact plant, was bred for the floral industry for cut flowers. So even in pots, it would work really well. I like that picture because it shows both colors, and that's kind of the two extremes of our soil pH. We're going to have blue in our yards around here. You can play with the pink if you've got more alkaline soil. Tilt-a-swirl, another new one with huge flowers and compact size. I like the bicolored flowers on some of these, and this one may be one I might give a try. I don't know if I have any room left in my shade garden, but I can probably find one. You can see, again, really crisp color, red or pink and alkaline. That would be a nice deep purple in our soil here with that lime green eye. That's a really pretty bloom, I think, on that new one. A couple from Monrovia. If you don't know Monrovia, I think the finest grower of everything around the country. This is a place that goes nationwide, but they've always got a lot of excellent new additions. They're really working with breeders from around the world, local places, and of course, they find some accidents at their nursery too and find new plants that way. So there's always some cool plants coming down the pipeline from Monrovia this year and the years coming forward too. Their Seaside Serenade series is as good as any. We carry, I think with these two now, it'll be like 10 of their hydrangeas in that series. These two new ones are a little more unique. I kind of saw these coming down the pipeline here a year or so ago, asking when they were going to be out, They had to build their numbers up, and this is the year we'll have a bunch of them in. Crystal Cove, my wife's name's Crystal, so I definitely have a spot. I got a new garden, I'm putting that one in. If you like that bicolor lace cap flower, that one's very unique. We would have a blue-purple edge with a white center on those flat, open lace cap flowers. Again, morning sun, afternoon shade would be ideal. But I think that for a repeat blooming, compact lace cap, that's going to be hard to beat, I think, with that unique flower size and then the shape. Glacier Bay will be a striking plant. I think a lot of people are going to like this one. If you like pure white flowers, those always pop to me in the shade garden. That's got a black stem, green foliage, white flower. So I think if you close your eyes and pictured the garden like, ooh, if I put that back in my shade garden, it would glow with those white blooms and contrast really nicely with the dark stem and the dark foliage. Again, compact, repeat blooming, really easy to grow and prune type of hydrangea. Now, if we do a couple of PG hydrangeas, and these are a different species, so this is sun. I can grow all these hydrangeas out in hot, cooking sun, no matter where I live, and they will thrive as long as I water them. These need some water. But PG hydrangea is really easy to do out in more of a full sun location. These are all new ones we'll have in, probably a little bit later. Some of this will probably be late April, early May. We'll start to get most of these in. But just to kind of show you some of the options, you know, early evolution, you can probably guess by the name. That's going to be one of the first ones to bloom. So I get those big cone, panicle type flowers. That one's a little bit more open. Some people like that lacier, large flower that I can see into a little bit. That one will open white and turn pink to red, just like all of them over the summer. Firelight Tidbit, that's got a great name, Tidbit. Everybody needs a tidbit in their yard, right? That's one that came out of Proven Winner. So that's the new standard for the smallest PG hydrangea. We have these coming in for sure this year. This is probably going to set the new standard for the shortest, most compact hydrangea for sun. I don't think I've seen anything quite as small as Tidbit that we've seen around. So that one again, open white, turn pink to red as we go through the summer months. Great fall color and easy to bloom. All these PGs, the one thing to keep in mind is these bloom on new wood, so I can do whatever I want pruning wise, and whatever grows up the next spring is always going to give me flower power. Little lime punch. I have little lime in my yard, and I'm not a huge pink guy, I'll be honest. I'm always honest with you guys, so I probably like my little lime still. But if you like the pink, and they called it punch because it almost gets that kind of Hawaiian punch red color to it, you can see the variation in the color. Great little dwarf one, you know, might get 4 feet or so, blooms on new wood, nothing changes, but I just have kind of got a new flower power going with that. White to pink to a quicker turn to that kind of Hawaiian red. So if you like more pinks to reds, that may be a great dwarf choice for you. A Little Hottie is one out of Bailey Nurseries back in Minnesota, their first editions program. We're proud to carry a lot of their first edition plants here. I think they're some of the better shrubs on the market. This one we had a little sampling in last fall, so we got to try it. Outstanding flowers. That was a heavy bloomer, again, on a pretty reasonable size PG type hydrangea. I found that great pictures our rep sent me from outside their office down in Oregon. That's the hedge they planted around the office. I mean, look at the amount of flowers on that nice short little 3-4 foot plant for sun. That would be an excellent choice as well. So some other shrubs, we get away from hydrangeas here. You know, sweet maroon myrtle. This is a new myrtus that Monrovia brought out. I'm going to start before I go any farther. This is a zone 8 shrub. I'm going to probably try one at my house because I like myrtles, and that's one that turns that maroon color all through the fall, winter, springtime when we're a little bit cooler. So it's a great foliage plant, and it's aromatic as well, being a myrtle. So I'll try one and see how we do. I mean, sometimes zone 8, this winter probably wouldn't have treated it so kindly after Christmas, how cold we got. But this probably isn't for everybody. Closer to the water, a little bit milder, little microclimates around here, I'm sure you'd be fine. I see a bunch of zone 8 stuff growing here and there, but you're probably taking a little chance. I will probably do mine in the container garden and start it out there and kind of see how we do. And then maybe if we do get a little chilly, I can shove the pot in the garage for a couple nights and I'll still be okay. On the right, there's a new lilac. You know, we try to find, again, a lot of dwarfish lilacs that maybe don't get quite as big. This is one that's like a 6x6 grower. They call it red pixie. It's got a good name. It's not a scarlet red flower, but it definitely looks reddish pink in bud and then opens up to a little softer color. Same great fragrance like all lilacs, just more manageable size. So all these ones, these new dwarf ones will tend to repeat flower a bit. I think that's a great bonus. We've always got a really nice spring fragrant flower display in that May, early June time frame, but these will tend to throw some more flowers out when we get towards that late August, September. So maybe double bloom, kind of on the season. If we look at a couple elderberries, I love the foliage of a lot of the elderberries or sambucus. We can do golds, greens, dark black to purple. There's been a lot of varieties introduced here the last decade or so. These are two new ones we'll have this year that grow more columnar. Again, we were talking about traits. Maybe I don't have room for the spread, but I'd like some height with that beautiful foliage. So nice flower in spring. They will get a berry on them for a little interest for the birds in the fall, but I can choose dark black laced up. It's going to give me 8 or 10 feet of height and just a couple feet of spread, or I can get golden tower, same thing, give me that 8 or 10 foot tall shrub height, but something that's going to stay much more manageable side to side. Now, a couple new conifers. These are two. We have Orange Beauty U in right now. We will not have that sequoia till the fall, so don't come get me if we don't have it in stock. But everybody who knows sequoia, should know that's probably the biggest tree on Earth. I think the largest living creature anywhere on this planet is the Sherman sequoia down there in Sequoia National Park in California. So that is a massive tree with a monster trunk and a big, huge, wide, kind of pyramidal shape to it. I see sequoias all over around here in gardens. They do great up here. They're very drought tolerant, really heat tolerant, but they're big. Unless you got some property, I could not have a sequoia in my front yard in Everett. I probably would not have a front yard at some point down the road. So again, dwarf sequoia is brand new. I have never seen anything like this until I checked these out last fall. So Von Martin is one that grows at a fraction of the growth rate that the species do. And you can look on your list. I'm going to have a very cool sequoia that's going to be very dwarf and very small in my yard. It's not going to eat up my landscape with the giant sequoia anymore. Orange Beauty U, like I mentioned, we've got some of these around right now, and this is something we'll keep in stock. I love U's for their growth habit, and this particular one for the foliage color. This is going to have a lot of yellow with the green. They call it Orange Beauty because the wintertime kind of turns to that amber, kind of orangey side of yellow, really pretty in the landscape in the winter. We had some around here this winter as well. But if I'm looking for something narrow, little evergreen focal point for my garden in shade, part shade or sun, even in a container, that'd be a beautiful container plant that won't take up too much room. That'd be a fabulous choice from you. Some of those English yews are very useful in our gardens around here. If we do a couple roses, sorry if we're at the rose class, a couple months ago, but we always show you the new roses at that class. But just as kind of a reminder, we test roses here every summer. We see how they do to see what we want to bring in 2023 at this point. So I'll get some little roses in the mail here pretty quick with no names on them. I'll plant them in pots, throw them out back. I will not spray them. We'll feed them, we'll water them. I want to see how it does. If you take them home and swear to me you're going to spray them every couple of weeks to keep them clean, are you really going to do it? So I want to kind of see how they look without spray. So we try them out here, kind of trial them. Not everyone makes the cut, but we try to get some of the new ones in that we think, again, that would be worthwhile for our customers here at Sunnyside. So these are the winners that we tried last summer that came in here in January as we got our new rose crop in for this year. So Forever Amber is a great new Floribunda. You can see the color on there. It's got good fragrance, nice growth habit, great disease resistance. Madam Blue, everybody's kind of always looking for that bluey lavender purple kind of tone on roses. I think that's a great option for a Floribunda that would give you that blue lavender color. That's a really pretty rose with good fragrance again. One new hybrid tea, a Chantilly cream, a nice light yellow, creamy yellow color. Again, beautiful blossom, single stem on hybrid tea. but above average disease resistance, good fragrance, and again, a little bit lighter yellow than most of the hybrid teas around, if you like that little softer color. Pop art will make me smile because that's kind of a funky flower. If you can see that one, people like different roses these days, and that one certainly is up there. That's a big grandiflora, a little bit taller plant with those huge kind of English style flowers that are quartered. But that one looks like I kind of swirled some pastel pink with yellow around in a big bucket, poured it onto the flower there. So that's a fun little flower if you like something a little different. Now, if we look at a few annuals, we always get little annuals in, and I'll say this: if you get your sheet, there's a little note in the bottom. You know, we're looking for flower power at Sunnyside, so this isn't all the new annuals for this year, but it's a few different things. We're always going to carry the latest, greatest Million Bells and Snapdragons and on and on and on. As we see things come to market, we'll snatch them up instantly. So this isn't it, but it'll kind of give you a little taste of maybe some of the little different annuals. Some of these tectonic, it's got a great name, a tectonic begonia. That just sounds fun. These are plants that were brought to us all the way from India. So this is a native begonia in the tropical jungles over there in India that's made its way across the globe, and now we get to enjoy them here in the States. There's a few members in this series. You can look them up online. But if I'm looking for a foliage begonia, not flower, but I'm looking to do a container or an annual planting in the shade for sure, but I really want to pop some cool foliage, this would be one to really consider. I'm going to try a couple of these in my container gardens in the shade this year for sure. You know, it is an annual. I'm not going to bring them in and save them. You'd have to bring them into the greenhouse to save them for the winter. But certainly something worth trying if you're into some really cool kind of thriller foliage as you design your summer containers here this year. Canna lilies always kind of speak tropical paradise. We go through quite a bit of canna lilies around here. This new series will have quite a few colors in. It'll probably be early May on this one. This is one we'll have some options: mangoes, yellows, reds, all kinds of different colors, and foliage color as well. Keep that in mind in. We can pop foliage on canna lilies. But, you know, these are great in the garden. You know, if you want to throw them in, they grow from a bulb. Sometimes they'll live through the winter here. I wouldn't count on it, but we can always dig the bulb and store it as well if we want. But certainly something to consider. It does pretty well in some boggier soil. I can grow it in a container garden. I've done cannas in my front pots, and you know, you buy a little canna and you're like, I don't know, is that really going to thrill me in my container? I promise you, you will. You keep some fertilizer on it. We can start warming up. They grow faster and faster. You end up with a big old 3-4 foot tropical specimen with multiple bloom stalks on it right away. This is a really easy one to grow, again, especially in containers. Some people like the tropical hibiscus. You know, we get these in again. It's more like May when the night temperatures are up. But these are hibiscus that would not grow outside here. I wouldn't mind moving to Hawaii sometimes, but we would have to be in Hawaii or some little tropical paradise. We would find these things growing. So Monrovia sent out this new series, this jazzy series. We'll have quite a few colors in. I think, again, with the eye color and the tones, really tropical, and the colors will pop. So great for sun. Keep the fertilizer on them. But we can do this in little bushes if you want to add them to a container, or also on a patio tree. So we would have a stalk up with the little head grafted on. That makes a pretty nice showpiece too for some folks that like to do annual containers. Mandevilla, we go through hundreds of these around here in all different shapes and sizes. It's a great annual vine. I mean, if I want flower power, you want mandevilla. This is one that will do baskets. It'll hang out of containers. You could do them in the ground. It would almost sprawl out like a little ground cover. But hot colors, great for pollinators, hummingbirds, and one you'll get a lot of consistent flower on as soon as we get warm in May, all the way until we get cold with frost in the fall. So these are two of the colors in this new Sunvilla series. We will have some pink options as well. You know, I kind of made this slide different because this is a different plant. And I don't know if we've ever really talked about the word temperennial before. I put any quotes in there on the side. You know, I love salvias. I buy these every year. I'm not trying to waste or be a throwaway guy, but I buy a salvia this color every year. I grow it in a pot where I park my truck. I love the hummingbirds when I get home from work. I like the color. I love the plant. And I don't care if it comes back, but that doesn't mean that you might not care if it comes back. So I treat mine as an annual, which is easy. It grows like a weed. It blooms all summer, fall. It doesn't need a lot of water. It's a really easy thing to do in a container. Maybe you want yours to come back. Okay, we grow it in a pot. We can protect it a little bit. That's an option. But it's a great example to me, these salvias, of this word temperennial. You know, we can't say it's really perennial. It's not really annual. It's kind of in between. So we'll call it a temperennial. That's kind of a fun word. So look at your salvia options. This new bodacious rhythm and blues. We had a little bit last year. I had one in a pot. Really enjoyed the flower count on it. So I'll be doing this one again at my house. Now, if we go to things that will live through the winter, for sure, these are all our perennials. So we're going to whip through a few of these. This is the last section, so I'm going to make it on time for a change. But we've got a few perennials to show you. You know, I've always liked little thrifts. You know, maybe they're kind of boring. When I bought my house, I inherited old ones. I wish I had these new ones, because this is another great example of why we're introducing or breeding new plants. These are Armeria or sea thrifts, little grassy mounds of foliage, way bigger flower, and these are going to continue to bloom spring, summer, into fall. My Armeria looks just like this for 6-8 weeks, and then I have my foliage. I might end up having to stick a spade to mine finally and replacing it with some of these new ones, because again, the flower season has been extended greatly. So a couple sweet new little Armerias to look at. This rock crest, I don't know if I like the accent name, but it certainly stands out. This is a new series we'll have in here just about a week or two. We'll have these in. Lots of different color options for this old-fashioned rock crest. Again, vivid colors, nice and low, great in rockeries, little low mounding guy. We want good drainage. We like sunshine. But this is one that will bloom a little longer. So if I want to carry the color an extra 2, 3, 4 weeks, depending on where exactly you live, this is going to give me a little bit more flower power on this new series. A couple clematis, you know, clematis vine. I want to grow this on a trellis, a post, an obelisk. You know, I need something to grow my clematis on, but there's a zillion clematis out on earth to choose from. I've been pretty psyched about this Vancouver series for a number of years. We've carried a few new ones, keep coming in. They're kind of local, right up the I-5 corridor from us. British Columbia is only a couple hours away, but they're very easy to grow. They're perfect for Northwest gardens with excellent flowers, and I think more manageable size. So look up maybe Vancouver series. You'll see a number of options. We carry a number of them besides these here already. These are two newer ones that we will have in stock here a little bit later in spring. I would guess, I'm hoping late April, you know, kind of early May time. A couple new dianthus, you know, some people call them pinks or kind of carnations, but these are hardy plants. This is something we would grow outside that stays evergreen, little moundy kind of blue-green foliage. Again, very easy, drought-tolerant, sunny location. This is something I'm going to have flowers on virtually from late spring all the way through the fall. These are not the old pinks that we got those little flashes in the pan of color. Again, I had an old one. I've already gotten rid of it. But when I replace a new one in mine, again, I want the flower color all through the season. So lots of varieties. I put 2 on here that kind of caught my eye, but we'll have 5 or 6 new ones of this series in here. Just again, about 2 weeks, we'll have these ready to go. One new delphinium or larkspur, this Delgenius, it's called Delgenius. That's kind of a weird word. This whole series started just last year. This is the most recent introduction. I think it's the most blue one I've seen. And if you know delphinium, the problem has been maybe a little too tall, had to stake them. Maybe the flower stalks broke if I wasn't careful on a rainy day. These new ones are much more compact. And again, longer season of bloom with repeat flowering. And instead of one stem, I've got that multiple stems. So all those stems will set a flower instead of just the one. So again, cottage garden in a nice sunny spot would be great for the pollinators and easy to do. On the right one, you can have one of those after I get mine. And I know Steve wants some too, but we love our bleeding hearts. I love yellow foliage, and I think this is probably to me, the coolest plant of the year coming out here if you like bleeding hearts. Ruby gold, we'll have a zillion of these here in a couple weeks. I think like 80 is what they're telling me. So I'm hoping we'll have that many because I think the staff is probably going to claim half of them here before they go out for sale. Ruby gold is a new gold bleeding heart with way more intense color. So you can see that's a picture here in about 2 weeks. As that thing's growing out, I've got gorgeous kind of amber gold foliage and I have a red flower. I've got gold heart in my yard at this point and I won't get rid of it. I love it, but the foliage is close. It's a little lighter yellow, but it's got the pink bloom, which isn't the end of the world. If I want to get red, I think this ruby gold is going to be a stunner for the woodland, for the park shade garden kind of thing. A couple new coneflowers. Way too many coneflowers out. It's kind of getting there with hydrangea these days. We get a lot of coneflowers in, and I know we'll have some evolution series. This is when we get through Monrovia again. Again, compact habit, long season bloom. These are both repeat bloomers, this whole series. We added this one kind of into inventory because maybe the one thing that's a little different with these is the color will change. I think that's where they kind of the evolution. So I'm going to look like take Fiesta on the right there. I'm going to look like a corally orange right when I open, but as the flowers go on for weeks, I'm going to get more pink into it. So when I look at my coneflower in bloom, I'm probably going to see 4, 5, 6 different shades, subtle differences. I think will really, kind of pop in the landscape. If you know coneflower, we want full sun, we want great drainage, and that is a must-have for the pollinators. That's a great plant with the long blooming season that will really help out, again, the butterflies and our local bees as well. A couple of hellebores. We have both these in, or I should say had both these in. I think they got claimed yesterday. We will try to get some more of these immediately. But there's always great new hellebores in. I just thought I'd remind, we've talked about these at the hellebore class last fall, that they were coming in. I just think these two series of hellebores, this Frost Kiss series and this Ice and Roses series, are at the top of the list. I mean, the growers are picking them because they bloom like crazy, which means I want them like crazy, which means you're going to want them like crazy. That kind of goes right down the line that way. So both those, to me, combine a lot of bloom and foliage interest. If you look at that Penny's pink picture real close, you can see that pink modeling on the leaves. So even if I'm not in bloom, I'm going to have a really attractive clump of foliage later spring, summer, fall, going into winter, because these are evergreen. Then I get to enjoy the flowers again. So flowers upward facing, you'll see them much better. Great foliage, and again, an unbelievable bud count as far as how many blooms you'll get on a small plant. Suncatcher, you can't live without a new sunflower. So this is perennial sunflower, Helianthus. It's not annual sunflower. This is something we would have in our garden year after year after year. We'll have these in much later in spring. I'm guessing probably in early May before they're ready to go. But if I'm looking for a nice compact sunflower that I don't have to plant seeds for every year, probably don't have to tie up to the fence so it doesn't break, these would be much more compact, heavy flowering. I think this one, you top out there in about the 3-foot range for good sun and well-drained soil again. The mermaid lavender candy tuft, we had a little bit. We'll get some more here pretty quick. But again, the difference with this candy tuft is the color. There's a few lavenderish ones out on the market. Traditionally, it was just a white one. Get light fragrance, great little short, moundy evergreen foliage for the rockery or a nice sunny perennial border. But this one later blooming. So this is one, instead of in March and April into May, now I'm going more like later April, May into June. So if I want a candy tuft that's going to go a little bit later in the season, that's why we have added the mermaid lavender to our inventory. Now, I'm the president of the Heuchera-itis Addiction Heuchera Fan Club. You guys, I don't know how many I have in my yard, but I'll probably try these two. There's always new heucheras every year. We can't possibly get them all in, but we're always kind of looking at disease resistance and how they grow and how they hold up in sun or shade. I think heucheras have a particular spot they like. And I think sometimes we also call them coral bells. Sometimes these guys get put in the wrong space, which is why they struggle. So I feed my addiction by buying these. I'll guarantee you they'll go into my mixed containers here this spring. And I can enjoy them. And then down the road, I'll move to the yard. And then I can go buy another one here next year, right? So these two new ones I thought worth mentioning. The Dolce series were bred for very small, short plants. So there's a number in that series. Spearmint's the new one. If you like that kind of minty, silvery green look, that's a nice bright foliage for sun or shade, and a much darker reddish pink flower is awful pretty too. You can see how much blooms are coming out on those. That's a great one, yeah, for the garden, but they kind of made those Dolces for the containers. A really nice little foliage plant that stays evergreen that I'd be able to utilize in a mixed container. The Primo series is the opposite, probably a little bigger. We can still grow them in pots, but now I'm going to be, 18 inches tall, 2 feet wide, with striking foliage, something I can use again in the garden. I use these all over my borders for the foliage color, pop other plants off of them. Sometimes I don't even care if they bloom, but we do enjoy the flower as well. But certainly look at that deep mahogany red color. That's a really nice one. Mahogany monster. A couple hostas. We got lots of hosta around here. It's always fun to say. It almost sounded like a New York accent. Lots of hosta. So we get a zillion hostas in here. Frankly, they have this HOY program. It's called Hosta of the Year. And every year, the Hosta Society will award the best hosta of the year for 2020, 19. And you go back years and find this. So I try to get everyone going back 25 years. We usually come pretty close. There's some great old ones. There's always some really fun new ones coming out too. These are two that caught my eye for us this year. The Dancing Queen, the ABBA hosta. We'll go back to the old disco days. This one's a lot of yellow. This may not be, if you don't like yellow, you're probably not going to like the Dancing Queen. But I have had issues with yellow hostas, maybe burning a bit and looking like they needed food, to be honest with you. When I checked this one out last year, it was a nice crisp yellow. It didn't look sad. It didn't look like it was tired. It looked like, wow, that's actually a really pretty yellow hosta. So you can see the texture, pretty good sized leaves, and a nice little lavenderish purple flower on those as well as you get to summer. Woo La La is going to make me smile because I might have to try a Woo La La in my garden here when these come in. Again, just a few weeks away, but this is out of proven winners. So I don't know if you ever had, used to call it Empress Woo. It was noted as the biggest hosta that's ever existed. This is the cousin plant to that, Woo La La, where I've got that bluish green color with a kind of apple green border to it. So really nice two-tone leaves. That is a giant hosta. I will tell you right now, they're telling me that might reach 3.5, 4 feet tall when it's in the peak of the summer and about 6 feet wide if you let that grow. So that is a big specimen hosta. If you want to go bold with gigantic leaves and a big old plant, you might want to try Woo La La. Might catch your eye too. We got a couple lupins coming in. These will probably again be, I guess, later April into May, early June. We'll have a number of these around. We get a lot of cool lupins in, but the Staircase series we will have in stock this year. I put a couple of the colors on. There'll be some other ones as well. But these lupins are bred for big old flowers. So, I mean, I'm going to have my typical little lupin clump of foliage and a massive flower stalk, like 1.5 feet, 2 feet, I think, on some of them that comes out of the middle. So awesome for the pollinators, the bees, all the great creatures we have that want to grab some nectar. But lupin is one, you deadhead these a little bit. I think you're going to have a long season of flower versus our native lupins, a kind of a quick little flash in the pan. They're pretty, but they don't last long. This is one will last a little bit longer outside in the garden. A couple bee balms, again, keeping those bees happy. These will have really striking flowers and fragrant foliage. Bee balm's always one I like the smell of. I've got a couple of this BU series already in my yard that came out a few years back, but they continue to introduce new colors. So if you look at that list, you're going to see 3 or 4 new ones we'll have in here. Again, probably just a few more weeks, I'd guess later April into May. But I can kind of pick anything from pastel pink, dark pink, fuchsia pink, red, lavender towards purple. I'm going to find a nice compact Monarda or bee balm in this series in that as well. They're a little bit more mildew resistant. I would never say mildew prone for Monarda, because I think if you grow them in too much shade or bad air circulation, you're probably going to get a touch of mildew, which isn't the end of the world. But these have been much more resilient at the grower level and also in my yard, frankly, too. A couple luisias. This is a native little succulent that we would find all the way up in the North Cascades here in Washington, over to the Rocky Mountains, down into the Sierra Nevadas. This is a little succulent creature that's super hardy. It's evergreen, tends to find its little home in little crags or rocks and sandy soils up on those higher elevations. They grow great. I have some older ones in my own rockery at my house in Everett, but they're certainly easy to grow. We don't have to water them very much. But these, again, bred for flower color and length of bloom time. So this constant series, we'll have the first of these in this year. There's a couple of the colors I know we will have for sure. Constant coral, constant fuchsia. But if you like just a little tiny, little tough to succulent, these are only going to get maybe 8 or 10 inches tall, maybe 12 or 16 inches wide as they get old. I can plant a few of those or a little grouping and A, have some great evergreen foliage, but B, have some really nice flower color on that as well. I think this is the last one, Nicole, if I remember right. So the grass, she's shocked too. Like, I thought you were putting 80 on there. So I put one grass on here. I love ornamental grasses. We'll have a class on that later in the summer. But I thought this one caught my eye. I have a different little blue stem grass in my garden, and I love the color of it. This one I think is going to be even better, a little darker. They're calling it smoke signal. So this is a little perennial grass. This will go dormant in the winter, but a really striking foliage grass that might just get 3 or 4 feet tall with the little seed heads on there for the birds. But this is going to be a little clumpy, upright specimen. I like the color. It's earlier in the summer. So this is one we'll see kind of a blue-green color with it, with a purple base on those grass stems. And by the time we get into late June, July, I'm going to start to see purples and different colors come in, almost like it was fall much earlier. So if you like a colorful grass, I think that would make a beautiful specimen plant, or even a grouping of those somewhere in a nice sunny garden would make quite a statement if you like ornamental grasses. Now, the last one here I put in for me, because this is another reason I enjoy my job. I have never seen a Hydrangeas before, so I had to look that one up here a couple weeks back and do some reading on it. A lot of people, again, looking for plants from other parts of the world. This is a little native wildflower that if I was up hiking up in the north of Switzerland or Austria, I'd find that up in the Alps. That's a European native that does very well in our climate as well. So I thought just kind of a fun little rockery plant. This is a little evergreen perennial, only going to grow maybe 8 or 10 inches tall, 12 or 16 inches across. It's going to give me those lightly fragrant white flowers in the spring to early summer. I mean, it's just kind of a different plant that some folks like some different things. I might end up having to try one of those in my rockery when they come in too. I think they'll again be here just a little bit later in spring. Now, the last thing we're going to do, I almost made it an hour. I got one more left here, is I just wanted to put this slide up because, I want everybody to understand this is a fun class for me to do. I think it's fun for all of you, kind of seeing what you can maybe save a spot in the garden for this year. But not all of this is in. And I want to make this clear. We've already had some people call and email this morning, like, can I come down there and get all the new plants today? Yeah, we have some, but these will continue to come in during the year. So this is what I'm suggesting you do. Save a spot in your garden. Be patient. I put the little smiley face by there. But certainly let us know, if there's something that caught your eye in here. I might have 20 of them saved. If 30 of you email me and say, I really like this, I'm going to probably go to our grower and say, you know what, scratch the 20. Can you send me 50 here when they're ready to go? So we make sure we get something for everybody. But contacting us by email is going to be really the easiest way to do this. If you saw something that caught your eye, you go print the list after the class, you marked a few things, email the store. Let me and the staff know, hey, when these 3 or 4 or 5 or 20 things come in, please give me a heads up. We add you to our wish list. And I promise, and I'm saying that honestly, that we will call you. We're checking this every week this year, and we'll make sure that you just get a heads up. It doesn't mean you're committed. Doesn't mean you have to buy one of everything you left your name for. Maybe you moved on and found something else. But when they do come in, we'll have those names saved and we will contact you, okay? So hopefully that makes it a little bit easier. I bet you a few people have already asked Nicole that question. So again, thanks for tuning in. That's our email address. You can find it on our website as well. Both of those are right there. I will tell you, I did get the list done a little late. I'm sorry. I already wrote a note on my phone. Do this in December 2022 for next year. So we'll have it done way before we get to spring. I know Nicole is going to spend some time here coming up pretty quick. I've got pictures of all this. The list is done. She will be adding this to the website for kind of the new plant page for 2022. So kind of stay tuned. We'll have that up here pretty shortly. Okay. So let me stop. And I'll just say this, you know, this is a tough class to run a sale. You know, we've tried coupons. We've said, save this in your wallet, come back in May. I think, most people lose them, forget about them, and they never come back anyway. So, you know, we're not doing a plant sale with this class. What we are going to do is something that's really easy. So if you need Sure Start fertilizer, the best organic transplant fertilizer, we got lots down here, 20% off all week. That's a must-have for gardeners in the garage. You're planting something new, you're moving something around. We got pouches, we got bags. That's a great standby fertilizer. And our compost, everybody loves our EB Stone Organics compost, bags or bales. Buy 3, get 1 free, which is a little better than our everyday specials. So those are your 2 specials this week. I bet you some gardeners will come down today and say, I want the compost, because you can never have enough of that behind the house. I think I have 12 bales right now. So there's your specials. Just a quick heads up, next Saturday, I will be home. It's probably my last weekend at home with my little 2 boys for a couple months, believe it or not. But I'm going to stay home next weekend. We have a great vegetable crew here in our seasonal department. Holly, our seasonal department manager, is the queen of vegetables. She knows everything there is to know. Well, I shouldn't say that, because all of us are always learning, but she is extremely versed in vegetable gardening. So tune in next Saturday. Her and Sarah will be doing a fun spring vegetable presentation. We'll be talking about kind of cold crop vegetables. That's next Saturday at 10. I'll be back in 2 weeks for double class again, Saturday and Sunday, which means Nicole's got double Saturday, Sunday too. But Saturday, we'll be doing organic gardening. I'll be talking about organic products, organic soils, and kind of maybe some techniques to keep your garden organic. And then Sunday's weed control. So we'll be talking about all things weeds, lawn weeds, gravel weeds, driveway weeds, shrubby weeds, you name it. We're going to talk about the most common weeds we see around here and how to take care of them, both with natural and chemicals too. So we'll cover all that as well. Okay. All right. I think I talked for an hour straight. Somebody else say something. What do we got for some questions, Nicole?
Yeah, you've been doing great. So I just want to mention that veggie class that we have, that's in partnership with our local Everett clinic, part of Optum. We're super excited. They've been sponsoring 1 class a month with us, but really what that means for you is that they're giving 5 $50 gift cards away to those who attend. So that'll be next weekend. So if you're interested in veggies, join us and gain a lot of information, but also possibly win a $50 gift card to the nursery. Super exciting. So we appreciate the Everett Clinic for helping us give those away. Fun. Because it's beautiful outside. It's a beautiful day today. And I think we've all been itching to get outside, and walking around the plants, is super fun and relaxing too. So there haven't been a lot of questions. I think probably people like me have been feverishly writing down our list, right? Now I have this list of all these things that I want. So if there's not any questions, you guys can throw them up in the chat right now. But like Trevor mentioned, that wish list, we've tried this year to be a lot more diligent about that and make sure that we're reaching out as soon as things come in, because it is hard to keep track of everything. And he went through a lot of plants today, which are exciting also, but you kind of have to wait for some of these until the height of the season. So don't be afraid to reach out to us and let us know if you're interested in something like you mentioned. Also, maybe there's something that sparked your interest that you've never grown before and you have a lot of questions about it. Trevor does, a ton of classes, not just Trevor, but some of our staff. And they're always up on our YouTube page or up on our website. So that way you can go back and visit. Maybe you've never grown berries before and now you saw some of these new ones and are interested. Go watch the berry class, get some information so you feel confident growing some new stuff that maybe you've never tried before. Also, he mentioned a lot of stuff about container gardens. I think, it's really sparked my interest to like, maybe I should be doing more container gardening and try that. Cause like Trevor mentioned, he grows stuff in containers and then moves them into the yard. I mean, what a genius idea, right?
Well, that way I don't get as much trouble from my wife either. So.
Smart, workarounds, right? But we have right now a huge selection of containers as well. So maybe you want to spruce up what you've got. Maybe you want something new. But they're all 50% off too. So it's a great time of the year to get it out, check out what's going on in our garden center, not just ours, but maybe somebody that's local to you if you're not local here. So yeah, it's been fun. We don't have any questions. So if something does pop up, reach out, send us an email, give us a phone call. We're happy to answer. And we'll get this class posted later today up on our website or the YouTube. And then that handout Trevor mentioned is also up on our website too. So hopefully you got it. If not, and you still can't find it, email us and we'll be happy to help. So hopefully we'll see you next weekend for veggies and hopefully you'll be one of the lucky gift card winners. And then we'll join you, Trevor, 2 weeks from now and we'll do some more fun classes.
There you go. Thanks everybody for joining us today. Go out there and enjoy some sun this afternoon. All right. We'll see you soon.